The fluorescent lights hummed their eternal song as I lay in bed 412, recovering from what the doctors called a minor cardiac episode. Minor? At 73, nothing about your heart feels minor anymore. It was 2:47 a.m. when Nurse Patricia first approached my bedside. I remember the exact time because I'd been staring at that clock, watching the minutes drip by like the IV solution feeding into my arm. She leaned close, her breath smelling faintly of peppermint, and whispered those words that would change everything. "Don't take the pills your son brings." I thought the medication was making me hear things. Patricia had been my night nurse for 5 days, always professional, always kind. Why would she say such a thing about Daniel, my only child? But then she returned, her footsteps deliberately quiet on the linoleum floor. Her hand trembled slightly as she adjusted my blanket, and she whispered again. "I overheard something in the corridor. Please be careful. I could lose my job for telling you this, but I couldn't live with myself if I didn't." Before I could ask what she meant, she was gone, disappearing into the dim hallway like a ghost bearing terrible news. Sleep became impossible after that. My mind raced through possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. Daniel had been so attentive since my hospitalization, visiting daily with flowers, magazines, and those vitamin supplements he insisted would help my recovery. "Dad, the doctors don't know everything," he'd say with that confident smile. "These are all natural. They'll make you strong again." But now Patricia's warning echoed in my skull. What had she overheard? And why would my own son want to harm me? 3 days later, I learned the truth in the most unexpected way. Daniel arrived at his usual time, 6 p.m., carrying his leather messenger bag and wearing that expensive suit I'd helped him buy when he got his promotion. He kissed my forehead, asked about my day, then reached into his bag for the familiar amber bottle of supplements. "Time for your vitamins, Dad," he said cheerfully. My hand shook as I reached for them, Patricia's warning screaming in my mind. But then something strange happened. Through the partially open door, I saw her, Patricia, standing in the hallway, speaking urgently to a man in a dark suit. A police detective, I realized, noting the badge clipped to his belt. Daniel noticed my distraction. "Dad, the pills?" "Actually, son, I'm feeling nauseous. Maybe later." His expression shifted, just for a microsecond, a flash of something cold and calculating that I'd never seen before. Then the concerned son returned. "Of course, Dad. Rest up. I'll be back tomorrow." As soon as he left, Patricia entered with the detective, whose name was Ramirez. What he told me made my blood run cold. They'd been investigating Daniel for insurance fraud, specifically cases where elderly parents had died unexpectedly, leaving their considerable life insurance policies to their grieving children. 3 cases across Ontario in the past 2 years, all eerily similar. Elderly parents hospitalized for minor conditions, devoted sons bringing supplements, sudden deterioration, death. The supplements contained a sophisticated cocktail of substances that mimicked natural cardiac complications, virtually undetectable in routine toxicology screens. The perfect crime, Daniel must have thought. "Your nurse probably saved your life," Detective Ramirez said. "She overheard your son on his phone in the stairwell asking someone about the usual dosage and mentioning your life insurance policy. She had the instinct to report it. They'd already obtained warrants, already tested the vitamins Daniel had been bringing. The analysis confirmed everything. I wanted to vomit, to scream, to wake up and find this was all a nightmare brought on by hospital food. This was my son, the boy I'd taught to ride a bicycle, whose scraped knees I'd bandaged, whose college education I'd funded by working double shifts at the factory. But it was real. The gambling debts Detective Ramirez told me about were real. The $3 million life insurance policy I'd taken out years ago was real. And Daniel's calculated decision to murder his own father for money was sickeningly, devastatingly real. The arrest happened the next evening. Daniel arrived with his usual smile and that amber bottle. But this time, plainclothes officers were waiting. I'll never forget the look on his face when they identified themselves. Not fear or remorse, but rage at being caught. He looked at me then, and whatever fatherly love I'd clung to evaporated. "You were supposed to die," he said flatly. "You're old. What difference does it make?" "The difference," I replied, my voice surprisingly steady, "is that murder is still murder, even when it's convenient." Now, 3 months later, I'm home. The cardiac episode is a distant memory, but the emotional scars remain. I visit Patricia sometimes, bringing her the homemade cookies she loves. She saved my life by trusting her instincts and having the courage to speak up when it could have cost her everything. Daniel awaits trial, facing charges for 4 murders. They found a 4th victim. I've changed my will, leaving everything to various charities and to Patricia's nursing scholarship fund. Some nights I still hear her whispered warning, "Don't take the pills your son brings." 3 words that gave me back my life, even as they shattered the illusion of the one I thought I had. Trust, I've learned, should never be blind, even when it comes to blood.